Everafter Falls is one of my favorite farming sim game that released in 2024, and I seriously think that this game is underrated. Every time I boot up the game to play, I keep on wanting to play just one more day. And if you are on the fence about getting this game, this video will showcase everything about this hidden gem, which will help you decide if the game is for you or not. This game was released last June 2024 and it can be played solo or split-screen co-op. It is available on Steam for $19.99 with these spec requirements, and it currently supports these languages. The game is also available on the Nintendo Switch, PS4 and 5, and Xbox Series X and S. Although there are mixed reviews about the graphics, I personally find the game's hand-drawn, cartoony look very cute. The world looks amazing with the overgrown path, different kinds of bushes and trees, scattered forageables, some random critters and pigeons, and some decorations like fences and lampposts. It all just works together. The music can get repetitive after some time since it plays throughout the day and only changes per season as far as I've noticed. There's also no music when it is a rainy day. The game runs very smoothly and I have never personally encountered a bug while playing it, and I also see very few bug reports from other players. The game did release a couple of months ago, so most of the bugs were already patched quickly. The beginning of the game starts out with a similar scene from an isekai anime. Your character gets hit by a car, then you wake up to discover your previous life on Earth was nothing but a simulation. You have no memory of Everafter Falls or its residents, but now you have to continue your life there. After the initial introduction and quest, you are basically left to discover and explore the world by yourself. Do not expect a heavy storyline in this game. There is a main quest and storyline that you can complete, but there isn't much depth into it, and I feel like this game was more meant to be just a chill game where you can just continuously improve your farm and earn money to decorate and just live a peaceful life with the charming townsfolk. Next, let's look at the settings. You can set your camera to close, medium, and far. The UI has a small and large scale, so you can set the most comfortable distance and size for you. Then there are some settings you can change to change how cozy or challenging you want your gameplay to be. You can set the day speed from 100, 125, 150, all the way to 200%. 100 being the fastest with around 20 minutes per day, then 200% being the slowest with around 40 minutes per day. You can enable or disable the fishing minigame, which is helpful if you don't want to deal with a difficult minigame. And you can also change the combat difficulty at any point as long as you are not inside the dungeons. There are some accessibility options that you can use to tone down the colors, disable too much screen activity and flashing lights, and a colorblind assistance mode. The character customization is simple and there are not a lot of options here. There are only 9 hairstyles and 8 shirt decorations to choose from. The colors can be customized using a palette or you can choose from preset ones. Your character can be male, female, or non-binary regardless of which appearance you pick. You can change your character's appearance using an item in the game later on. You will be able to decorate your house and farm. You can buy some furniture from the store where the items available for purchase changes every day. There are also some recipes for fences and paths that you can craft yourself to decorate your farm. There is no romance in this game and you cannot give gifts to the NPCs, but there are cutscenes with them that you can enjoy. You can also watch some interactions between different characters after you go to bed. The dialogues are amusing and varied, featuring everything from existential musings and relationship drama to classic sibling fights. Even without romance, you will surely find an NPC or two that you will absolutely love or hate in this game. Next, let's look at the main activities that you can do in this game. The first one, of course, is farming. Your pet can till, prepare, and water the soil for you. There's only a limited amount of actions that you can queue for your pet, but this can be upgraded in the future. You need to be the one to plant the seeds and harvest the crops though. If it is a single harvest crop, you need to harvest it one by one, but if it is a crop that can be harvested multiple times like corn, you can use your sword to harvest multiple tiles at once. As you can see from my farm, eventually you will have some drones to help automate your farm. You can also buy some normal animals like cows, alpacas, chickens, and some unique ones like unicorns or whatever this is. The available animals in the shop changes, but if you don't have money yet and you see an animal that you like, you can put it on hold and it will not be removed until you buy it. There are a lot of items around the map that you can forage, like some mushrooms and shells that you can pick up from the ground. There are also some bushes and trees that you can shake to get forageables. You can get creative with this and use your fishing rod to reach some items that are out of your reach. Next, let's look at mining and combat. There are 4 portals that you can unlock which will take you to different mining locations with different levels of enemies and loot. Each one has a map that is divided into several rooms. For each room, you have to defeat the monsters before the door will open. But once you've opened the room once, it will remain open forever. I think the combat is very simple and easy here. The enemies have very simple patterns, and after some character and pet upgrades, you won't even need to dodge enemy attacks all that much. You can just mindlessly hack away with your sword. There are no other weapons available in the game aside from this sword. The maps can be huge as you can see here, but there are some rooms that has a teleportation portal and you will be able to travel to other rooms with the same portal once you've unlocked it. There are also some rooms where there will be mini boss fights and major boss fights. In these mines, you will be able to gather ore, stones, coal, quartz, etc. There are some stones that you will not be able to mine until you've upgraded your pickaxe, and some ores are only available in certain portals. Next is crafting, which is a huge part of the game. You can craft items from your inventory, and it will also use the items from any chest 2 tiles all around you, which is convenient. You will be able to see almost all of the crafting recipes at the start. There are some that you can unlock later on, but a lot of it are already visible to you, so you will be able to see which ones you need to craft something. For example, if you want to craft a solar panel, you will see that you need glass panel, iron bar, and fire sap. In order to get fire sap, you need to craft a delicate tapping kit which can tap fire trees for sap. Some parts of this whole process will take time to figure out. For example, you need a maple syrup to craft the delicate tapping kit, but it's not obvious where to get a maple syrup at first. For this, you have to pay attention to your surroundings. Here at the general store, there are some posters on the wall that actually shows that a maple syrup can be crafted using an evaporator. There are also other diagrams filled with information like this scattered in the game, so you'd really have to explore. You can also craft information posts, place it on the ground, and interact with it using a machine. It will then show the crafting recipes available for that machine. There are pixies that you can get which can increase the production rate of your machines or gather materials for you, which will make crafting more efficient. But crafting can be a little bit tough in my opinion because it uses a lot of resin and sap. The regular tapping kits can only be used for certain types of trees, and for others, you need to use delicate tapping kits. What's confusing is, you don't really know what type of tree you are dealing with unless you look at a guide from the internet, or you wait and see what kind of sap or resin you can get from it. Tapping trees take a long time, like 10 in-game days. So I just searched the internet for tree guides myself. If you're not careful, you can also accidentally chop down a tree that you need for a crafting recipe, which can set back your game progress greatly. Now let's talk about cooking. Cooking lets you mix raw and processed ingredients to create dishes using kitchen tools like a mixing bench, stove, and oven, which you can buy from the bakery. You don't need recipe books to cook if you already know the ingredients, but if you experiment and get it wrong, you'll end up with mush that cannot be sold. You can buy recipe books from the bakery, which will show you what are the necessary steps you need in order to make something. But owning the recipes will not automate the process. The books only serve as your guide. Selling dishes is more profitable than selling raw ingredients, and you can also donate them to the bakery's collections for cool rewards. Next is fishing. As I mentioned earlier, you can disable the fishing minigame, but normally it goes like this. Once a fish bites on your line, the minigame will start. There would be 2 spinning rings surrounding the fish. You have to stop the spin when the gap is right below the hook to let it pass through. After stopping the 2 spinning rings, the hook will fall down and a catch will be rewarded based on the last ring that the hook fell through. This can be difficult, especially in the beginning, but you can attach some mods on your fishing rod to make the gaps wider, slow the spin rate, and more. If you choose to disable this minigame, you just need to cast your rod in a body of water where you can see a fish shadow, wait for it to bite, then press a button to reel it in once it does. You also have a bug net which you can use to catch bugs, critters, and even pigeons that forgot how to fly. The pigeons can be given to the penguin post where they will teach them how to fly again, while the other critters can be sold, placed in a terrarium, or donated to the museum. Speaking of that, there are a lot of things in the game that you can collect and donate to the museum, from ores, gems, crops, fish, and other items and creatures. There is a blue star icon on the top left on an item, so you can identify if it's been donated to the museum yet or not. There are books that you can buy in order to see the whole catalog of certain collections, but it does not give you any information on how to get the ones you are missing. This part is where the game gets grindy if you want to complete the museum. There is a terrarium available that you can use to grow and breed flutterflies, butterflies, and frogs, so you won't need to find each of them out in the map. You can also craft your own terrarium later on. There is no skill tree in this game, but you can see your player stats over here, and you can increase these stats by equipping rings, amulets, getting potions from the mines, or by eating player cards. The cards can be obtained as quest rewards, purchased, or printed using certain resources. There's only one way to sell items that I currently know of, and that is by using the shipping bin over here at the general store, which is right beside your farm. You need to deposit your items here, then the profit will be given to you once you sleep at night. If you accidentally sold something that is important, you can use this button over here to get it back. Lastly, let's talk about the quests. You have main quests and side quests in this game. Sometimes, a new quest would appear without any prompt. There's going to be like a message icon here indicating there's a new quest, but this can easily be overlooked. The quest can also be triggered by talking to NPCs with an exclamation point above their heads. For the side quests, there is a bulletin board that changes every week or so. There will be 5 quests available and you can only accept 3 jobs at a time. There is no relationship level in the game, but if you do quests with certain characters, you will be able to unlock certain cutscenes, which makes the game more fun and entertaining in my opinion. I really do enjoy the gameplay loop in Everafter Falls, but it does have rooms for improvement and it definitely can be confusing at times. Earlier, I talked about how crafting can be difficult, but here are other examples to give you a better overview of what you can expect. In the museum, there is some sort of portal over here which is not noticeable at first. This automatically places the items in the museum in its correct location. Otherwise, you would have to match the item you are holding to its correct place in the museum by looking for a similar silhouette, which can get incredibly tedious. Then, on the blacksmith shop, there is no menu to show which services are available in the shop. If you talk to the blacksmith, nothing will happen. If you want to upgrade your equipment, you need to be holding it before talking to the blacksmith, which is not intuitive at all. There are also other services available like breaking certain stones to get gems, and using the furnace to smelt jewelry, which is not apparent unless you look around the shop. You can learn about some of the things I stated in my examples by talking to the NPCs and paying attention to the dialogue. But of course, this will take time and socializing. Personally, I enjoy exploring by myself and not being spoon-fed. There's really no rush anyways, and it just makes it more rewarding when I do figure something out. But I do understand that this might not be for everyone. Next, let's talk about frequently asked questions and quality of life features in the game, starting with the controls. The controls are not intuitive in my opinion. For example, in order to remove an item, you cannot use a pickaxe to remove it or right-click on it. Instead, you need to hold down the C button, which is very strange for me. There is a button guide here that you can use though, and I did eventually get used to the controls. For inventory management, there are options to move items easily, but again, it is not apparent at first. This button will stack similar items from your backpack to your inventory, then this button will stack similar items together, but it will leave one piece of item in your inventory. This button sometimes confuses me since the icons are not easily understandable, but I do appreciate having these shortcuts. There are also options for moving all items and for auto-sorting. It is fairly easy to craft chests in the game which can contain 30 to 40 items. Then you can craft label signposts to easily identify which chests are for which items. The player and pet inventory can be accessed by pressing I. You have a total of 12 slots while your pet initially only has 4 slots. And your tools unfortunately take up space in your inventory. I've seen other players that were able to increase their inventory to have 40 slots using drones and other upgrades, but this will take time to unlock. There are a total of 4 seasons in the game, and unlike most farming games which start at spring, you actually start in summer here. Each season will have a different visual style with different forageables and different crops to plant. After several hours of playing, I have not seen any calendar in the game, but there are 30 days per season, and usually there is a festival at the end of the season. There are other random events and festivals with some cool minigames like duck racing, cooking, rhythm game, and more. Since there's no calendar, these events are a surprise, but certain NPCs will tell you that an event is happening via mail. Next, let's look at the map. On the left side, you are able to see the different characters and where they are in the map. On the right side, you can see the buildings. You can track certain characters so that an arrow appears near your character guiding you to the NPC's location, which is really helpful for completing quests. Your main mode of transportation is walking, and you can increase your character's movement speed by consuming buffs. There is also an item you can buy called a teleportation stone, which can be placed anywhere. One thing I really like about this game is that you have no stamina bar. You can do as many actions as you want and not consume any energy. By 12 AM, spooklets will appear and will forcefully put you to bed. You can try to dodge them for a little while, but they will start to swarm you after a few seconds. The only penalty you'll get for staying up late is waking up at 8:30 AM instead of waking up at 6:30. The game unfortunately only saves after you go to bed, so keep this in mind before booting up the game. Everafter Falls is very chill, addicting, and relaxing for me, even with the combat. There is no stamina bar to limit the actions I can do per day, and I find the dialogues amusing. This game can get grindy, and it does not hold your hand, so it can be confusing at first, but you can take your time discovering things bit by bit. You will definitely feel rewarded for exploring and paying attention to the world and dialogues. The early game actually reminded me of how I felt when I played Stardew Valley for the first time. If you want to try out the game first, there is a demo available on Steam. And if you're going to buy it, then watch this next video for some beginner tips and tricks to help you get started.